Welcome to my belly band tutorial. I've created it for my junk journal called The Joys of Summertime. I am Debbie from Dior Design and Decor, and here are some of the items that we will be using today. Tags, napkins, Mod Podge, scissors, parchment paper, cursive stamp, blank ink pad, Distress Oxide in colors, all of these great elements. And I'm also using a resin butterfly from my stash. Wait till you see how fun this is going to be. So first up, these white wooden tags are perfect for my junk journal. I don't even have to paint them white. They come that way. They're wooden tags and they're white. So in today's segment, I'm creating a belly band, which is that vertical strip that runs from the top to the bottom of your journal page. It's perfect for tucking in tickets, tags, and treasured memories. So tag number 1 gets a cheerful makeover with a yellow checkered napkin. First, I lay the napkin on the tag to see what section of the napkin that I want to use. And then I apply Mod Podge, which I like to keep in a squirt bottle. It's just easier to apply. And be sure to brush it on with even coverage. You'll want to make sure that the entire tag is covered, because if you don't cover it completely, if there's a dry spot, it's going to create an air pocket, which will be a bubble when it dries. No bubbles for me. After I finish putting the Mod Podge on, I'm going to put it aside so that the Mod Podge can dry completely. We will be using the iron-on method to adhere the napkin today. Now, for tag number 2, I'm using a piece of a decoupage that I made earlier. I made this on a piece of plastic. I'm going to do another tutorial about this because it's really a cool way of getting a really cool piece of decoupage. It's a napkin. I actually used some texture in there. It's Wise Owl texture in the paint, and it's just very thick and beautiful. So this tag is much smaller than the piece of decoupage, so I'm trying to decide what area I want to use. I think I'll use a little area that says the garden. Since this is my summer junk journal, I thought that would be perfect. So I repeat the process, putting on the Mod Podge, and since the decoupage is going to be a bit thicker, I'm taking a little extra time to make sure that I put enough Mod Podge on there so it will adhere well. And I set that one also aside to dry. Now tag number 3 gets a little bit of a different twist. I'm going to stamp it with a cursive script. I want to give it an interesting background. So I use a stamping pad, making sure that I put obviously the ink on the area that I want to use on my tag. Checking to see the area that I want. And then I'll just ink that up. I find that using blank, the black ink is the best way to actually see the cursive. I like other color inks, but I like to use those when I dirty up the edges. But to stamp on the tag, I wanted to use the black. I wanted to get the script straight. So using my acrylic block, I'll press it on and make sure I put even pressure so that it sticks. And then voila, I peel it off, and there it is. I just love cursive. I love to use that as a nice background. I'll put that aside to dry as well. Now I'm checking out that I have a sweet little resin butterfly that I actually made from leftover pours. So if you work with resin, you want to keep the molds of the smaller items side by side. So in case you're done filling your molds and you have a little extra, you can pour it And then I like to keep a little stash of extra items. So whatever's left over from a larger product, you never know. You never know what you'll need when you're creating a journal page. So tag number 2 is dry. It's time to add the decoupage. Now I carefully cut out, you'll see I'll cut out the little section that I'll need. I always cut out more than I need because you just want to make sure that you don't run out of space. Now here I'm going to remove 2 layers of the napkin, leaving just the image layer. You want to make sure you get all of the layers. Usually a really good napkin has 3 layers, 3 ply, and some might have 2 ply, but just be sure that you take all of the ply off. Now I'm going to lay it on the tag with the dry Mod Podge. I'll place a layer of parchment paper on top. And I'm going to use my little iron. The heat will activate the glue and the napkin adheres perfectly, so I have no wrinkles whatsoever. I use my micro sander at a 45-degree angle, and this is going to remove all of the napkin for a nice crisp edge. There'll be no frays, just perfection. I'm going to start lining them up. And my third one, which is the top tag, we'll be using the textured napkin piece from earlier. Now remember, it's much thicker because it was made with some texture in the paint and the napkin over, so it's very heavy, but it's absolutely beautiful. Again, I am taking my iron. I'm taking a little bit more time to iron that on because it is a bit thicker. I just want to make sure that the Mod Podge glue underneath is reactivated and holds it. I'm taking the parchment paper off when it's hot. There we go. I'm going to use a scissor now to cut the excess off. I'm going to use my micro sander again to sand off the edges. And you'll see it's a little bit more time to get the edges off here than it was on the thinner napkin because this is obviously much more textured. Takes a little bit more muscle, but you can get it off. And after you're done, there's some beautiful, just gorgeous dimension to this tag. Takes a little more muscle power. That's going to be beautiful when it's done. And, you know, it has a little bit of a garden theme, which works perfectly with my beautiful journal called The Joys of Summertime. Now it's time to line them up. from top to bottom, and this is where I will be gluing them together to form that belly band. I like using Gorilla Gel Glue. It's a little bit better for precision. When you use a regular glue, sometimes it's so thin that it will ooze out into spaces that you don't want it to go. And I want to be able to slide everything underneath that belly band. I don't want any glue to get in the way. So just a few dots where it counts. I'll hold each piece in place just for a few seconds till the glue sets. I love how this belly band is coming along. Just a little bit of Gorilla Gel Glue. I like turning the tags every which way. It just kind of makes it fun and whimsical. I'll be able to slip any of my mementos inside. There you go. Let's make sure it's perfectly glued to the page. A little dab at the top to hold tag number 1. And another drop of glue at the bottom to hold tag number 3. So both of those spots will hold it to the page. And here's my little resin butterfly, part of my stash of resin that I make when I have extra resin hanging around. And she just has a nice little bit of color to add to that tag with the cursive. And there's always butterflies around in the summertime. And now I had these little like round circular like little jelly things, and it reminded me of the pool rings, that you sit in when you're in the water. So I thought, oh, that'd be perfect for my summertime journal. But before I glue them on, I just decided that I wanted to ink up the edges with a Distress Oxide in a real pretty summery blue color. I don't know if you keep a lot of different color inks around. Most people keep the darker inks to ink up the edges and make them look dirty. But I love using colorful inks. They're just so pretty. I love the pinks and the blues and the purples and the yellows. Here I'm using a pretty color blue. It's the exact same color actually that I used on the page to make it look like the sky or even the water in the pool. I just love the color. Now we're going to glue the little pool rings, and I think I'm going to put them right on top of the yellow checkered decoupage. And I actually had them in all the colors for this actual page spread. The blues, the yellows, purples, and the greens. This is where you can have some fun. You can just take anything that you have in your stash and start adding it to make the page come alive. Just take time adding all the elements you can to your belly band. And as long as they don't get in the way of sliding your items underneath, you're okay. So while I have the soft blue ink out, I decided to add a little bit more sky to my page. I just wanted to fill it up with a little bit more blue. I might even go back and add more elements later, but just for today, I wanted to just show you how to make the belly band, how to add some elements to it, but keep it free so that you can slide things under and you can, make changes as you go. I use soft brushes. I bought these at the Dollar Tree. And it's funny because every time I use a certain color, the Distress Oxide, I will write the color on the handle so that each ink has its own brush. I don't like mixing colors. It keeps it fresh and perfectly colorful that way. Now I have a darker blue Distress ink, and I think I'm going to add it to that bottom tag just to give the edges a little bit of depth. Now I know I could have inked all these things before I put them on the page, but sometimes as you're creating, things will come to you, so it's not a problem to add the ink later. I love how it looks. Now look how beautifully my journaling pieces slide under the belly band. You can just continue to add tickets and pieces of gorgeous, I don't know, pieces of cards that people have given to you. You can cut little special elements out of the card. So I like the fact that my journaling pieces will slide onto that belly band from top to bottom and side to side. You can keep adding as you go. Yep, easy to slide up and down. There's no glue in the way, so it's perfect. So just look how beautifully the little journaling pieces slide under that belly band. And that's just the beginning of my summertime journal. Thanks for watching. I hope that this inspired you to add some sun-soaked charm to your own junk journals with a belly band. Thanks for being with me today.